radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? How you doing? I'm ready. It's Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Let's do this, man. 210 days into the new year, only 155 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere, a total undisclosed location, but it is beautiful. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, it is beautiful in here. I love the Groot. I love the Groot. Who posted the Groot? Let me scroll down. Who posted the Groot? Groot's gone. Oh, I saw some Fade to Black blend coffee in there too as well. Kim Jellin. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. She got the shipment. River Moon Coffee. RiverMoonWellness.com. All right. You know what to do. Click on the banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Best coffee in the world. Got it right here in my Fade to Black. It even tastes better in here. In case you don't know, kids, Jay Weidner is here tonight. Yeah. All right. Jay Weidner. Jay Weidner is here. And this is going to be just a huge conversation, far-reaching. And, we and talking about this with Jay, the title of the show is Jay shares his knowledge about the secret mystery schools and who is running the world today. And wow, right? Well, that means we can go in any direction, and we are going to do just that. I'm going to say this to everybody out there. I've got a lot of friends in the circle, a lot of friends. And there are a few of those that I talk to a lot. And if I've got questions or things, the world, just mysteries and things, it's Jay. Jay is the hotline. And the conversations that we have are just absolutely wonderful. And I should probably have Jay on the show once a month. I really should. And there's a few out there that I do that with, Linda and Richard. Got to get Isaac Arthur back on the show. I'm going to reach out to Isaac. And we are going to have, by the way, Avi Loeb is going to be with us here very soon. There are just a couple of complications in that Avi's going on a vacation with his family. He hasn't done that in a year and a half. So as soon as he gets back, we're going to have Avi on the show. But anyway, back to my point. There are just a few out there that I should probably have on the show just like once a month. Just circle back and go, okay, let's pick up where we left off. And Jay is one of those. Tomorrow night right here, Fader Night, open lines all night long. Hey, Corey, I don't know what that is, but that's really cool. I don't know what that is. If you want to see the GIFs that are being posted, just go over to hashtag F2B. Hashtag F2B. I'm not tagged in it. Oh, by the way, I've got the old version of TweetDeck up. The new version of TweetDeck, which I liked visually, locks up Twitter. And they got to get that. You can't have both open at the same time. It's like this mysterious bug. And I just couldn't deal with it. So I'm back to the old version, and now everything is running fine. So, yeah, I'm kind of bummed out about that. So just go back to the old version of TweetDeck. And if you want to see what I'm looking at, hashtag F2B, the sandbox right there, Corey's GIF. And that's cool. I don't know what, is that Pac-Man? That's cool. I really dig that. All right, so that's where we are. Fader Night is tomorrow night. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hello to everybody out there. Of course, Facebook. What is up? KGRA. You guys got video now. The Bunker Cam, YouTube. Everybody that can see me. Why would you want to watch video of some dude talking into a microphone? I don't know, but you've got the video. And then everybody else out there, of course, the chat rooms are open over at Spreaker, KGRA, and the chat room. I haven't been over there yet in YouTube. I just said hello before the show tonight. I'm sure things are going crazy over there. You can also, hashtag F2B is Fade to Black Questions. Okay, F2BQ. Hashtag F2BQ. All right, I've been thinking about this all day today. And, but it is the breaking news, so I'm going to get straight to it. And it's harsh. Dusty Hill, ZZ Top's bassist for more than 50 years, passed away last night in his sleep at his home. And Billy and Frank of the band today issued this statement. They said, "We are saddened by the news today that our compadre, Dusty Hill, has passed away in his sleep at his home in Houston, Texas. We, along with legions of ZZ Top fans around the world, we will miss your steadfast presence, your good nature, and enduring commitment to providing that monumental bottom to the top. We will forever be connected to that blues shuffle in C." And very harsh. And I just wanted to say that for me, their greatest, and it was all great, really, but was DeGuayo. And but everything that they did was amazing, all of it. But Dusty always had that unique sound, that funky, different, that tone. I'm going to talk more about that in just a bit. I don't know if it was his bass, was it the amps? Again, I'm going to talk about all of this, but it all comes down to his fingers. His soul was in everything that he did, and he was 72 years old. Rest in peace, Dusty Hill. Just crushed. Last week, there was an announcement from ZZ Top that Dusty had some hip issue, and so he left the tour. They're in the middle of the tour. Dusty's bass tech of 20 years took over on bass so ZZ Top could continue the tour. And it sounded like he was just going to get his hip checked and he'd be back on the tour. And that was last week. And I don't know if this was related. I don't know. That's all speculation. But it was just a weird thing last week. But they continued the tour. So I don't think that Billy Gibbons or Frank Beard really thought it was a big deal. So I don't know if it's related or if it was just his time. But rest in peace, Dusty. It's just harsh. And also, continuing with this bad news, I didn't say anything about this yesterday, but I have to now. Yesterday, it was announced that Metal Church frontman Mike Howe had passed away at the age of 55. And I remember Mike when he was in his bands that I used to go and check out, Snare and Heretic, in Hollywood on the Sunset Strip. I saw both bands many times. And he was always great. And I remember his crazy eyes. And I remember I just seen Snare. It was like a month later. To me, that's what it seems like. It was, it's very... And I'm there to see like Witch and Heretic. And Heretic comes out. This is at Gazzari's. I remember it specific. And out comes Mike Howe. He's now fronting Heretic. I'm like, dude, you were just in what's going on? But I loved him in Snare. And there he is with Heretic. And he was just a phenomenal talent. And I was a big Metal Church fan. I've talked about that many times on the show. And he replaced David Wayne in Metal Church, which I thought was just an impossibility. David Wayne and, man, that first album, The Dark, just incredible. Well, anyway, I miss David Wayne. He passed away in 2005. But if there was anybody that could have filled David Wayne's shoes, it was Mike Howe. Well, Mike passed away at his home in Eureka, California. And the police said no drugs, nothing. There was no paraphernalia. That's it. He just died. And if all of that wasn't enough, Slipknot's Joey Jordison passed away in his sleep yesterday at the age of 46. And Joey, I watched Slipknot videos all day today and yesterday. Joey was a founding member and co-writer of many of their biggest hits. And it goes without saying that he was one of the most insane, talented, energetic, and creative musicians in the history of everything. Joey was that great. And I know and have known many of the great drummers. And watching Joey play, all I ever would say to myself is just like, that right there, that is impossible. Joey was that great. And then it's the next song. And it's like, that's impossible. Just a sad 24 hours for all of this in the music industry. Just incredible, seriously. Well, okay. All right, enough of the bad breaking news. Popular Mechanics published an article today about USOs. Unidentified submerged objects. I've been commenting lately of the lack of UFO UAP coverage since June 25th. Well, finally, a little break here with Popular Mechanics. I posted it up in social media. It's very interesting. It's a good article. So I posted it. Go and check it out. It was published today on Popular Mechanics website. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Bad Company drummer Simon Kirke. Today is 72. Keyboardist Greg Giuffria is, I can't believe I'm saying this, is 70. He was an Angel, remember that? House of Lords, and of course, Giuffria. He left the music industry, went to Las Vegas, started a company, and is doing really, really well for himself in the gaming industry. Guitarist Steve Morris today is 67, of course, of the Dixie Dregs, and now he's been in Deep Purple for 25 years. A long time. Our dead guy's birthday today is Richard Wright, 1943 to 2008. Died at the age of 65. Richard, of course, was a co-founder of Pink Floyd. He played keyboards and sang, performing on almost every Pink Floyd album and playing on all of their tours until his death. Initially contributing more as a singer-songwriter, Richard later acted mainly as an arranger of compositions by Roger Waters and David Gilmour. Richard was indeed the glue that kept Pink Floyd together. He died of lung cancer at his home in London on September 15th, 2008, at the age of 65. On this day in history, OTD, 1945. I mention this all the time on Fade to Black. 1945. A B-25 Mitchell bomber crashes into the Empire State Building at the 79th floor, spilling its fuel and starting a fire that went all the way down to the 75th floor. 14 people were killed, but the building stood tall. That's right. Incredible. Fader fact. For their first month of living, babies only see in black and white. Think about that. Tonight, very special guest Jay Weidner is here sharing his knowledge. We're going to be talking about the secret mystery schools, alchemy, and who may be running the world today. We're going to do all of that tonight with Jay and much, much more. And tomorrow night is Fader night with open lines all night long. And this is when I hit this River Moon coffee. Man, it's good brew tonight. River Moon coffee. If you haven't had Fade to Black blend yet, if you're one of those out there listening to you've got to get Fade to Black blend. It is the best coffee in the world. It's going to be the best coffee you have ever tasted. And ask anybody. Hey, just post. Go. Hey, man, have you had River Moon coffee, Fade to Black blend? Hashtag F2B. Send, tweet, go, post. Do it on Facebook. Find out. It's the best. All the banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right. Yeah, Brian, that's pretty cool right there. That's pretty cool. Joey. Man. I don't know how a drummer like Joey can play for 2 hours a night. You know, one song, one Slipknot song, and you're exhausted just watching him. I mean, it's just incredible. Double bass. Incredible talent. All right. Let me hit this coffee again. I got something to say. So, yeah, I'm a big metal guy. I am. Love my heavy metal. Look over my shoulder. Love my heavy metal. Black Sabbath. Man, love it. Judas Priest. Love my heavy metal. But I'm also a musician, and my father is a musician, and I grew up in a jazz household. There was some rock going on and things, and he introduced me to a lot of stuff and exposed me to so many different styles of music. But from 1977, and if it wasn't for Jeff Beck and Frank Zappa, I would have just stayed laser focused on, Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and all that stuff. That's what I enjoyed. Kiss, right? Okay, so anyway. So Dusty Hill, the man who held down the low stuff for ZZ Top, passed away last night in his sleep. And this whole thing has brought back a flood of memories. And ZZ Top has released 15 studio albums, sold an estimated gazillion, billion, million albums worldwide. And early on, it was their hits Tush, right, and LaGrange that introduced me to the band. But although they were great songs, right, it just wasn't my thing back in the day. And I would hear, and it was okay. All right, it was just okay. And of course, I eventually learned my lesson. And I was down in Panama, going to school. I'm standing by my locker at Balboa High School when my friend Tony Gonzalez walks up to me and hands me their album, Deguello, just released, right? And he hands it to me, and I was like, dude, pass. And he goes, Church, dude, you got to listen to this record. So I took it, and I put it in my locker, closed my locker, whatever. And later that night, I'm at home, and I put the record on. I was in the living room. I don't even think my parents were home. I was in the living room and dropped the needle, right? Kick back. First track and the game changer. I Thank You. And I got the headphones on, right? I couldn't believe how warm, how buttery, right? How tasty and different. I don't know. I can't put it into words, but to this very day, when I hear I thank you, it has that sound, that thing. Anyway, I thank you was followed by She Loves My Automobile, right? I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide. Holy crap. A Fool for Your Stockings. And Manic Mechanic. And by the end of the first side, I knew that my life had changed. I hadn't even gotten to side 2 yet, right? With Dust My Broom, Low Down in the Street, Hi-Fi Mama, Cheap Sunglasses. Man, the closer on side 2, Esther Be the One. I mean, just think about it. That was all on one frigging record. So I started to study it. Started to study this record, man. I'm learning the songs. And there was something about it that I just couldn't quite figure out. And then it hit me. It was Dusty Hill. Not Billy Gibbons. And yeah, I know. He's one of the greatest guitar players in the world. Influenced me tremendously. And he's one of the best that's ever lived. And I understand that. But just hear me out for a second. Dusty was a great player for sure, right? He hits the right notes, right? Knows a great bass line. Plays a Fender bass, right? Has an amazing amp set up, right? All that. He's got Bill Ham producing, right? Terry Manning engineering, all that stuff. But it was the tone, the sound. It was just different. And it was perfect. It was so unique. It was so nasty. This album just wouldn't leave my head for a long time. And I learned every song. I learned every note. It was the writing and the thing and that. And Dusty Hill, right? Dusty Hill. But back when I made the Dusty Hill revelation, I was also writing for our school newspaper. Yes, I was in journalism class. And I went to my teacher and I said, hey, I want to do an album review. And she said something like, and I'll never forget it. She was like, well, that's not really what we do around here, but write it up and I'll read it. So I did. And for each issue of our school newspaper, each article was read aloud in class where we picked them apart, we studied them, and we edited them. And then things went to print, right? So the teacher stands at the podium and she reads these words. 22 Taps new album. And I was like, hey, whoa, stop right there. It's ZZ Tops, not 22 Taps. I'm not making this up. It really happened. But she got through it, and the review made it to print. I'd written a few articles for the paper. I really didn't even care about it, but the review made it to print. And my friends are coming up to me and going, dude, ZZ Top de Guayo. I said, yep, absolutely. Including in this review, my comments about Dusty Hill's nasty tone. I was so proud of that. I was so proud of trying to describe. I had no other way to describe it. And nasty was the word. And for back then, I think I got it right. And I think that Dusty would agree with me and my 15-year-old mind that Dusty had the nasty tone, which didn't come from the guitar, the amp, the producer, the engineer. It came from his fingers. I'll say it again, his very soul was in everything that he played. And my friend Tony Gonzalez, so this review comes out, and he comes up and he says, I told you. I said, I know, man. Can I have my album back? I was like, man, I didn't want to part with it. But Tony turned to me, and he said, his tone comes from his little fat fingers. And I never forgot that. And I saw ZZ Top a few times live, and I would, the videos and things. But I would always, and it was really funny for me because there's Billy Gibbons, right? Billy Gibbons, right? How great is he? I would always listen and watch Dusty Hill. And I'm a guitar player. And I would always look at his fingers. It was this sound that he had. And I can only imagine that no matter what bass he was handed, no matter what rig he was playing through, it was his fingers, and it was going to sound the same. Sad day today, but I'm going to say it one more time. Rest in peace, Dusty Hill. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jay Weidner is here. Jay Weidner is here. We're gonna start where we start. We're gonna end where we're gonna end. But Jay Weidner is here to share his knowledge about the secret mystery schools and who may be running the world, your world, today. Tomorrow is Fader Night with open lines all night long. Your calls, your conversation, UFOs, conspiracy, time travel, the paranormal, supernatural, lost history, pop culture, music, food, all of that stuff is going down tomorrow night. It is Fader Night. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Dusty Hill. I'll be right back.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich balance that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jay Weidner is here. Don't worry, Jay. I'm not going to say those words that you don't want me to say. He's like, man, don't do it, Jimmy. I'm not going to do it, Jay. I'm not going to do it. Nobody can hear you yet, though. So, oh, man. Because I'm going to let the bio speak for itself. Called by Wired Magazine an authority on Hermetic and alchemical traditions, Jay is a renowned filmmaker, author, and scholar. He is a writer, director of the feature film The Last Avatar, director of the critically acclaimed documentary Infinity, The Ultimate Trip, Journey Beyond Death, and writer-director of the documentary series on the work of Stanley Kubrick, Kubrick's Odyssey, and Beyond the Infinite. He was featured in History Channel's documentary, The Lost Book of Nostradamus. He was also featured in the documentary Room 237. You know, Jay, I've watched that thing like 40 times. He was also in Brad Meltzer's Decoded. In 2000, he founded Sacred Mysteries together with his wife, Sharon Rose. He has directed 15 films in the current Sacred Mysteries DVD collection, including The Last Avatar, Infinity, Secrets of Alchemy, Art Mind, Healing the Luminous Body, Quantum Astrology, and Sophia Returning. Yes, Jay, I'm done. His website is sacredmysteries.com. And I'd like to welcome back to the program, Jay Weidner. Jay, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's like the vagaries of getting old as your biography just keeps extending.
I don't have enough air in my lungs these days. I'm gonna do my own edit. I'll send it to you. How's that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, right on. And Jay, I actually I want to do a little bit of a recap with you, and I was thinking about things today and about you and about what we were going to talk about tonight. But I want to do a little bit of a recap about you for the audience that may not have been with us over the last 7 or 8 years. So we're going to do that. But there's also something else that is worth mentioning here. I, to this day, have people come up to me and go, Jimmy, the program's great, whatever. But that Cross of Henday, right, that you did with Jay Weidner, that Falconelli that you did with Jay Weidner is some of the best things that I have ever heard, and I replay them all the time. And Jay, I hear this like constantly. And so I'm going to say this. If you haven't gone and listened to those 2 shows that Jay and I did, Jay, it's like a half a decade ago now. or probably longer. But they're right. Those two shows were magical. We just happened to burn on all cylinders those nights.
Well, you're one of the only, I'm being nice here to everybody, but you're one of the few people that has interviewed me that I actually realized had read the book. So, you know, I'm not going to say anything else, but, you know, so that felt, you know, you felt authentic. That was probably, I think in 2012 was the first one.
Yeah.
And you felt really authentic at that point. And I knew, well, because at that point I'd done probably 1,000 interviews on radio. And I know with big people like Art Bell and things. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm going to start saying yes to people I really haven't never heard of. I'm going to start saying yes and do interviews and try to help them as people helped me when I was younger. And so when you called me and I said, okay, I'll do your show. And then I was like, holy crap, the guy actually read the book. He actually knows what he's friggin' talking about.
It was, and we were able to, because I had questions, you know, and not questions that were written out, but I had questions of after going through all of it. And when you do the deep dive into Fulcanelli, that is one of the most frightening, daunting, interesting rabbit holes that you can possibly go down. And all you have is questions surrounding all of that. And you were the guy. And it really, it came out in the show because I had things that I needed answered. And it's still to this day, it's one of the most intriguing stories and personalities in the history of the world. And I'm talking about Fulcanelli, and then you swing it over to the Great Cross of Henday, and what is behind that globally. You know, it's just not it's not just about the cross. I had questions. Anyway, two of the best shows I've ever done. And people mention it to me constantly. I'm sure they mention it to you too as well.
Well, what happened was that you opened up a bunch, because that was the first time I think I told the story about how I thought J.K. Rowling had taken the first book of the Harry Potter series and from the Fulcanelli legend. And that was the first time I said that in public. And that really caused like a dam to break, because everybody realized that, you know, not only was Fulcanelli this mysterious guy kind of walking through the raindrops of history, but major pop culture was based on aspects of the Fulcanelli legend. And the whole thing where Harry goes to the castle in the mountains, everyone dresses in medieval clothing, and this is all linked to the Fulcanelli lore. And for sure, she knew she'd read it. I've never talked to her and probably never will. But, you know, if I did talk to her, I know I could get it out of her. Well, I know where you got that.
Hey, great artists steal. That's it.
Yep, you do. I steal.
Yeah, I steal everything. Yeah. Man, there's nothing original about me. But
nope.
The other part to this, and this is where this is my setup for a little bit of a reboot, because your journey through all of this, you've been at this for decades, and your journey not only with Fulcanelli and the Cross of Henday and alchemy in general has to start somewhere. So let's kind of back up. Were you ever normal? And what? And you know where I'm going. At what point did life take that turn for you?
First off, no, I was never normal, and I was always. I mean, I did play sports and hung out and did action stuff with my friends when I was young, but I really liked to read, you know, and be alone, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I won several awards at the library for checking out and reading the most books during the summer, that kind of thing. And I had pretty high standards. I had a teacher that gave me the essay called "The 100 Books That Everyone Must Read," right? So I read them and didn't understand a lot of it, but, just by doing it, I trained the brain to be able to, become cognizant of things. And so, but also I owe a lot to Fulcanelli and his book, Mystery of the Cathedrals, because that book was designed to initiate you into a different way of thinking. And so when I read the book, I was really confused by it at the first, and so I read it again, and then pretty soon it was a stable right next to my bed every night, and I would read it until 1 a.m, trying to figure out what this book was actually trying to tell me. And then I realized that there were italicized words all through the text, and I was like, why is he italicizing certain words? So then I began going to the library and running down each one of those words. That was the big eye-opener there, because that opened up a kind of an alternative science, alternative view of history, an alchemical view of science, alchemical view of history that I had never considered, that the cathedrals themselves weren't places of worship. They were, but that wasn't their intended ideal. It was to create a healing center where telluric forces, invisible plasma forces, were brought down to the floor of the church where there was a labyrinth. And you would walk around in these forces that were being brought down in circular patterns while this giant organ would play. And there would be Gregorian chants and incense burning. And it was this intense alchemical healing experience at a time when there were no doctors. I mean, there were doctors, but they were all hacks and didn't understand anything.
Right.
So this was vitally important to the health of the community. And so then that begins, okay, well, then who paid for the cathedrals? Who built them, right? And the Catholic Church says, we didn't do it, right? And then it becomes, okay, so what's going on there? And then you say, oh, there's a secret society that's doing this. There's a secret society that's doing this for the betterment of our world, not a secret society that's doing it for the detrimental values, but for the good of society. So this is a completely different, growing up with the Illuminati, and all of a sudden I'm now discovering that there's a secret society in history that did things to help people, and that they built the Cross of Henday to warn us about a future event where a plasma event from the sun would come and the Cross of Henday was built around the year 1600. We can tell by the erosion on the cross. So that tells me that that was built at the very beginning of the last Maunder minimum, when we went into a time of no sunspots. Fulcanelli and the Cross of Henday are very keen to tell us that the sun is going to play a big role in these upcoming events. All right, the sun has been without sunspots pretty much now for about 4 years. And we know from the Chinese keeping records for 2,000 years that every time there's no sunspots, we go into a kind of a cold period. And then this reduces the sheath, the electromagnetic sheath of the Earth, and causing us to have more danger from these solar cosmic rays and the coronal mass ejections. And so this is where we're moving, and now the science is following the mysticism. It's usually the way that ideas transmit into society is the first people that see the idea are the mystics. The second people are the artists. The third people are the scientists. And the fourth people are the politicians. So the mystics, Fulcanelli, sees the Cross of Henday and understands it, passes it down. Soon artists are making films like Knowing with Nicolas Cage and talking about this in kind of an open way, Harry Potter and the rest. And then it got Now Science, which was criticizing all of this before, as fear-mongering is now in line, saying, yes, this is a very big concern. We have hundreds of nuclear reactors which could lose all of their power if a CME hit like happened in 1859 in the world. And so we can see that in some ways it's some of the most important information conveyed. And what's really interesting about it is the Cross of Henday chapter was not in the first edition of Mystery of the Cathedrals. that was printed in 1926. It was included in the reprint in 1957, and it was added. It was added because somebody visited that castle and got the chapter from Fulcanelli. And when that chapter came out and then it was translated into English in 1958, there was a sudden interest in building underground bases and creating a space agency to take a look at the outer space and what's going on around us. You can see that there was suddenly a concern with the sun and the aspects of it, and a disaster, an imminent disaster. And also the beginnings of the secret space program were at that time, where they were deciding that now was the time to do Project Horizon and dig into the moon and create underground bases. So the whole thing is really the story of our time. That's why you and I both find it so interesting, because it answers so many questions.
There is, and let's back up, because there's another interesting part about this, and I also want to talk about where. But how did the book found you? The book found you. So how did that happen?
Well, as I said, I'm an avid reader, and I was living in L.A. I was a screenwriter, and I was on Saturdays, I would go out, usually to San Fernando Valley, where they would have all these really opulent garage sales. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but man, you could pick up some serious bargains at these garage sales if you knew what you were doing.
Yes.
And I was looking for books mostly, but other things. I'm into really good carpeting, Persian rugs and things. And I picked up for like nothing a Persian rug now that's in my living room. It's worth probably $30,000. I think I bought it for $400 or something like that. The person had no idea what it was worth. But I went to a book, one of these sales, and there was a bunch of books, and only had $20 on me because I was broke. And the books were $1 each. So I bought, and they were incredible. I had no idea what these books were. They were all on esoteric subjects, and I was like really fascinated by it. And, the guy was, no doubt into all this stuff, who had ever died. His wife had no idea what the books were worth. So I bought 20 books for $20 and went home, and one of them was Mystery of the Cathedrals, and I still have in my bookcase right behind me all 20 books, became the most valuable books I ever owned, and read each of them many times. But the Mystery of the Cathedrals was so unfathomable that it was the nut I had to crack. And so I dedicated over 20 years of my life to cracking the nut, and I'm still not over it because, since then, and since I've been on your show, I've been taking a lot of drives through northern Arizona and southern Utah, and the odd landscape. So in the electric universe theory, they would take a piece of mica and they would zap it with electricity for like a half hour.
Right.
And it would look just like Arizona. There'd be mesas, and there would be these weird, rock spires and everything. And we know that the Native Americans on their hieroglyphs in the area have plasma images, because of the plasma physicists have said those are plasma images. They witnessed a plasma event. And finally, we have the whole idea that the Grand Canyon may have been not carved out by erosion, but maybe the result of a gigantic lightning strike, because it certainly looks like that from the air. And so the Southwest Indians experienced this event sometime in the not so distant past. So this Henday stuff doesn't happen once every 12,000 years, as I originally thought. It happens on different places on the earth at different times. And it happened here probably 1,000 years or so. I don't know how long a petroglyph can last on a cliffside in the American Southwest. If someone out there does know this, or you're an archaeologist, please contact us and tell us, how long they last. That way we can figure it out, because whoever built those saw this event, whatever it was.
I see where you're going with this. Now, let me ask you about Mysteries of the Cathedral. Now you've got the book. I have to. What went through your mind as you start to attempt to investigate who Fulcanelli was? the history of this book. By the way, is yours the 1958 edition?
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yes.
You know, that's
hardcover.
Extremely rare book, everybody.
Yes, it is.
Very rare book.
$1.
And the original edition, I think they only printed 200?
300.
Yeah, 300 that only went to 300 of the most important people on the planet. Right?
That's right.
And
That's
and
exactly
it was
right.
very discussed back then how important this book was. So I don't want to get into Falconelli and the history of this because it's an incredible story. You can go back and listen to the original episode that Jay and I did back then. But Falconelli may be alive today. I think he is. Do you think he's still alive?
Yeah, I think there's a group of people that are extremely old on this planet. Yeah. Not many, but a few. Few hundred.
I remember, I'm going to repeat this, Jay. I know we've said it before on the show. You and I were in a bar, and I turned to you and I said, so Jay, is there somebody in here that's 500 years old? And you looked around and go, yep, yeah, probably.
Especially where we were.
Yeah, especially where we were. And it's just a mind-blowing subject to get into. So for everybody, Falconelli, the mysteries of the cathedral, and of course Jay's interviews that we did so many years ago cover all of this greatly. But back to this, for those that don't know you, this introduction to alchemy, and it is a rough thing for most people to accept, and once you start to get into it, it reads like science fiction, it reads like fantasy, but this is a culture that exists on this planet. How did your mind accept it, Jay? Because it's just a crazy subject to get into.
Well, I mean, I originally was trying to debunk it. I was a very scientifically oriented person at the time that I got the book and those other books. And so as I read the 20 books in total, because I do that, I read a lot of books at once, I began, realizing that there was this whole strange world of mysticism and alchemy and histories that we aren't being told about. And it was very befuddling and upsetting, actually, more upsetting than anything else. So then when I hit Falconelli's book, Mysteries of the Cathedral, I said, okay, this guy is either faking like he's an intellectual, or this is like just some kind of hoax, a giant hoax. And so I started reading it, and then after a while, I would, of course, check up on things, little things that he would say, and I would always find them correct. And I would say, how did he know that? I mean, how did he know a certain little thing about a certain place in a cathedral? The more and more I read, the more and more I realized I was dealing with a mind that was up there in the top 1% of minds, and that this was no joke. It was deadly serious. And, and then I read the book more and more and got initiated by it. And then at the end, I realized that all the things that I had been taught were completely wrong. And I was not, all the ways that I had looked at the world were wrong. And that I needed to wipe the world clean and start all over, because I didn't know jack. And I was about 34 then, and I was moving my way up into the world of making money and the corporate world and everything. And so I had to kind of keep this sort of a secret because it's so weird. But what happened is that in a way it was like the passport to success, because what I discovered as I moved up the ladder of society, I guess you could say, and met people more and more in the upper echelons of society, and when they would discover that I was into alchemy, I was invited to their house. I'm talking about rich people, very wealthy people. I was invited to their houses. They would take me on trips. They would give me presents. And I know what it was. They wanted to know the secrets of alchemy, and they thought I might have it. And I didn't have it. I mean, I still don't have it, and not completely. And I also believe that if your desire is to get rich, you're probably never going to achieve the transmutation of the soul. It's just you're too weighted down in the material world, and you have to make your soul lighter than a feather. The Egyptians would weigh the soul, and it had to be lighter than a feather. So you have to eschew the material world for the most part in order to succeed in the transmutation of the soul, which is really just the ability to control where you are going in the astral life. That's really what it's about. It's about learning how to control, first how to map, and then how to participate and guide yourself through the upper realms around us, the etheric realms.
Now,
that's what alchemy is about.
And how do you, Jay, how do you accept this while cruising around the San Fernando Valley, right? Which is the exact opposite of all of this, right? It's a harsh reality.
That is really true.
Yes.
Yeah, that was always a big dilemma of mine in LA after that incident. All of a sudden, I became seriously alienated from not just the land that was there, but my friends. I mean, when I would go to parties, I'd realize how, shallow everyone was, and pretty much all they were interested in is chicks and cocaine, which is fine. Not against anybody having a good time, but when you're sitting there and you're suddenly starting to elevate into these higher realms, you become alienated. You find fewer and fewer friends and fewer people to talk to, and then at a certain stage, you become the person that everyone wants to talk to, because what you are discovering is so amazing, and everyone wants to know about it, and so I try to share it as much as I can. It's like reaching. It's like we're living in a black and white world, and it's a famous alchemical drawing. And then the alchemist is reaching through this like etheric dome, and on the other side, everything's in blazing color, and everything is beautiful and prismatic, and that's the place we want to be. And we want to get out of the material world, because all it does is weigh you down. You can have nice material things. I do, and I'm grateful for the universe for granting me everything that I have, but I'm not attached to any of it. I've lost everything I've had before, as I know you have too, Jimmy. Yeah, you just come right back. That's all you do, It's not really about that. It's about a higher calling, a higher way to live your life, and everyone should live it, because you don't know how many times you're going to be here. You don't know, and so you want to work to. What you want to do is you want to make yourself so light, free of the material world, that when you do leave this world, you move up into a higher realm, and the less material you are, the higher up the realms you go. And believe me, I've been there. It's really, really nice up there. Trust me, there's nothing to fear.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I guess, and I, Jay Widener. We are going to do a deep dive tonight into the secret mystery schools and who may be running your world today. All of that and much more after this short break. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. KGRADB.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jay Widener is here. It's going to be a deep conversation. I want everybody to get ready. It's time to get our knowledge on. And I've got to give a big shout out to RU right now. And that's just magical, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, Jay, this is when I started to do my deep dive into the mystery schools and alchemy. What I found was discouraging in that the real information is not out there. It truly doesn't exist, at least easily, right? And the you hear mentions of the mystery schools and the secret teachings and the secret mystery schools and alchemy and you see, and it's mentioned in literature, but once you try to go there, it doesn't exist. So help me and the audience. Let's go back a ways here. Let's go into the deep history when this knowledge started, and was there a specific geographical point on Earth? I always think of Egypt first, and I may be right. I don't know, but can we go back that far and start there?
Yeah, I think what Egypt was, by the way, Egypt was named Alkem. I don't know if you know that, but that was a name that they called themselves. It means the Black Lands, because everything in alchemy starts with the black, the Negredo. And what I think, it didn't really start in Egypt. What I think it was that there was a 100,000 year long advanced civilization that got destroyed by, probably the comet or a solar flare or a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. I think the comet hit about 13,000 years ago and put us into a nuclear winter, which pretty much killed almost everything on Earth, by the way. And we know this is true. And then it's called the Younger Dryas. It was a 1,300 year long period that then suddenly ended quickly, causing massive flooding. And I believe that was a solar flare. So that's the double catastrophe. According to Fulcanelli, the double catastrophe is what ended the last age and what's going to end this age. And so I think it's a double whammy of a comet and then a solar flare. So, I think the whole purpose of the mystery schools is to pass down this knowledge to keep it alive through the age of Pisces, which is the last 2,160 years. And the age of Pisces is a very top-down, authoritative. Well, we know. We have to read our history, right? Going all the way back to the very first world dictatorship, which would be Rome. So as Egypt faded in the age of Aries, the previous age before Pisces, the Piscean way of thinking took over, and that was kind of anti-spiritual, anti-alchemy, very authoritative, very much, this is what we do, you do what we tell you to do, you think what we tell you to think, and everybody had to live under those rules, teachers, police officers, judges, everything that we all have in this world today. And so that top-down authority destroyed alchemy, because alchemy is a very democratic process where you stay at home and you try different things over and over. And what works for you works for you. There's not a mass religion. It's a series of experiments and practices which allows your soul to grow. And so Egypt was the place where they kept the knowledge of the previous 100,000 year long civilization that developed all of this advanced thinking. Think about like yoga. Where did yoga come from? We have no idea. Just one day out of the blue, there were these incredibly intense, well thought out exercises designed to, relieve pressure on organs and spine. And someone put thousands of years into studying the body to come up with just yoga. Then think of acupuncture. Somebody studied the human body for thousands of years to find those points where they could put the needles, and it works. Anybody who's ever had acupuncture know it works. This is all alchemy. All of these things are remnant of this civilization that Egypt tried its best to preserve. And they did preserve a lot of it. They didn't preserve a lot of it either. And so, we have big gaps in our knowledge.
So for those 3,000 years when Egypt was doing their thing, I'm talking 3,000 BC all the way up to Cleopatra, this knowledge was shared, right? You could go to the priest, you could go and acquire this knowledge, you kick down some food, kick down some gold, right? Did your thing. But this knowledge was out in the open, and then at year zero, right? Or thereabouts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, at year zero, alchemy goes underground.
Yeah, that's at the beginning of the age of Pisces, and the top-down authority approach begins to take over as the only way that you can rule people. And so that kind of forced the alchemists to go underground because, for one thing, it was now turned into a completely materialist world, and they thought that the alchemists had the ability to change lead into gold, and so frequently alchemists would get arrested by the kings, and then, you make me gold, you make me gold. And it's not about that, man. I can't just go make gold. That's not what it's about, right? But they wouldn't believe them, and they would die. So that would force it even deeper underground. This happened also in China during the Taoist alchemy, because don't forget, China also had an alchemical tradition, as did Europe. So we have really 4 places: Greece, Egypt, China, and Europe, that were the alchemical centers, and India too, actually. So 5. So alchemy was really, this great underground science religion until the age of Pisces began. And, I want to talk about that just for a brief second, because
Sure.
A lot of the division that we see today, we think it's left versus right, Republican, liberals, and Democrats, and all that, but it's not. It's a battle against the ages. On December 21st last year, the conjunction at the solstice, December 21st, was the turning point where we went from Pisces to Aquarius. We are now fully in Aquarius. And that you can see that this strange conflict is heating up. And what is this conflict? This conflict is not about politics. It's about a rebellion by the Aquarians against the Piscean top-down approach to everything. Everything we see is that, from homeschooling to learning on Zoom to defund the police, which I don't support, but I can see where we're headed with the police, and I can see a future where we're going to do more of community policing. I think also agribusiness is going to go away as we all begin to realize we got to put greenhouses in our backyards and start taking care of things. So we're seeing the splintering of the Piscean culture. In medicine, that's what the anti-jab thing is about. It's not that they're against the jab so much, or against the authoritative way it's being introduced. And, I know people that have the jab, they're perfectly fine with it. But, if somebody comes down their driveway, they're going to yell and scream at them, right? Because you're not allowed here. You shouldn't be doing this. This is not what we do in this country, right? So you're seeing the splintering is that. I know people on the far left who actually agree with people on the far right more than they agree with the middle left.
I know.
And so you're seeing this. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I'm not really political, so I don't watch it. I watch it more from a mythos, from an alchemical point of view. What's really going on here? And you can see that that is the war across everything. Hollywood, gave us top-down entertainment, right? Big studios had to raise up a bunch of money, then they would spend $20 million to make a movie, and we all went to the theater and we saw the same movie. Well, guess what? Those days are over too. I guarantee it. YouTube and BitChute, your show, far more entertaining than what Hollywood is putting out. And it is. That's what I watch. I don't watch any. I have Netflix. I got Prime. I watch movies. I'm saying I don't. But I do. I spend most of my time on YouTube and BitChute looking for odd, entertaining videos to watch. And they're free. And the same thing is going to happen in every form as the Aquarians take over. And what's really odd about this is the Pisceans created like the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, right? Those are Pisceans. And what they're doing is they're smart guys. They follow astrology. They know about all this stuff. Trust me, I know these guys. They're all into all this stuff. They know the Aquarian age is coming, and they're trying to create it now. They're trying to create a Piscean version of the Aquarian age because they know that when Aquarius age actually comes into full fruition, their ass is cooked. So they're trying to save it now, but it's not going to help them because the Aquarian age they're not going to follow any rules. I know a guy, he's 19 years old. He's got $1.5 million. He dropped out of high school at 16. He's a software genius. He doesn't have one teacher like you have in school. He's got 200 teachers all over the internet that he goes to and he learns from. He's going to be worth $20 million in 5 years. This is the new way. This guy said, he stuck his finger to the Piscean age and said, no, I'm not following your rules. I got my own rules, my own teachers I want to follow, my own thing. And the guy's a genius. He's 19 and he knows everything about everything. I mean, it's super impressive. And so I think alchemy is going to come back, is what I'm trying to say. I think this new liberating thing that's going on, which scares the Pisceans so much, and which you and I, people like us, we welcome. We're like, yeah, bring it on. Come on, we want it, right? And it's coming on like gangbusters now, guy. And it's going to reach a head where there's going to probably be some kind of, it'll probably be an info war, not a bloody war, right? It's just going to be ideas being thrown back and forth until the best idea wins. And so you see this top-down approach being challenged at every turn, every day now. And you watch the ratings of CNN bottom out. You watch the ratings of even Fox is starting to bottom out. So everyone's starting to bottom out. Movies are going to start dying. That doesn't mean the world's dying. It just means a new age is coming across where we are more in control of what our life is and what we're taught and what entertains us. And that drives them crazy. If you actually look at the subtext of what the ruling class tells us these days, they are actually beginning to tell us that we're not allowed to think. That's the new thing. It started about a year ago. You're not allowed to think. You listen to the experts. They know what they're talking about. You point out that the experts have been consistently wrong from the beginning, and all you do is get discussed. But you're right. They have been consistently wrong from the beginning, so why should we listen to them? And again, that's proof pudding that the authoritarian structure is falling apart and dying. It comes with its own scary stuff, but at the same time, I think we're mature enough to handle what's happening. And I think it's going to be a great new age. I really do. I think alchemy is going to come back.
Yeah, those out there that I know that are upset, their minds are twisted, their health, they're just walking time bombs of anger. Yep. Watch the news, right? It's a bizarre. It's crazy in that I choose what news I want to be exposed to. That's what I do. I click. I don't have anything forced into me, Jay.
You're Aquarian.
Right?
That's
right?
Aquarian.
I make those conscious choices. And
me too.
You and I, this is many, many years ago, but we were at a conference together somewhere out in the desert. And I don't want to, but anyway, but for those 4 or 5 days, I wasn't on the internet, right? I no TV in the hotel room. There wasn't a TV in there to turn on. And I came back after those 5 days, Jay, and turned on my TV, walking through the house, and popped up on the TV was an ISIS video of ISIS like burning people in cages. I immediately got sick, right? My body and went, you know what? That's my problem. That's it. I'm done. I was just great a few minutes ago, and now suddenly my body has changed. I turned it off. I learned my lesson, and I've never looked back. I only choose my news now.
That's right. That's very Aquarian. I used to live in the mountains of Santa Barbara, and we didn't have any internet. We didn't have any TV. It was really, very isolated. But I would go to the beach, Pismo Beach, about once every month because I love the beach. And I would, get a hotel room there on the beach, and we'd have a TV, and I'd turn it on, and I swear to God, I would have almost a traumatic experience.
Yes.
The first 5 minutes that the TV was on. I would be, holy crap, is this really happening? And then I'd just be shaking, and I'd turn off the TV and go, we got to go on a walk on the beach.
Got to.
I got to shake this off.
Yes. I learned my lesson, and now I choose what is important to me. And that's it.
Me too.
That's it. And
everyone should do that, by the way.
It's
not watch a standard news outlet. Stay away.
I don't want to stay on the subject at all, but I'll say this. There is no way that all of these mass media outlets are telling you the truth, because every single one of them is the opposite of the other channel, right? And they're trying to tell you that they're telling you the facts and they're telling you the truth. And you go through and each one of them is completely different, right? Which means none of them are correct. None of them. None. I choose my news. That's it. Everybody should do the same
I'll
thing.
end it with this. My rule is that I hear a story on the news that sounds absolutely incredible. It's probably not true.
That's it. It doesn't matter the source. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the source. Now, now let's back up. So this age of Pisces, which, and we look at those 2,000 years, right? 0 to 2000. We're at 2020, but go to those 2,000 years, and that trend is exactly as you describe it for those 2,000 years. There's no question about it. And now behind all of that, and if you go to the previous 3,000 years, there were some wars, there was some fighting, there was some, but everything basically was about self-improvement. Egypt went 2,000 years without an army, right?
And no navy either.
Yeah, no navy. So anyway, so that 2,000 years is right there. But behind that, Jay, what were the alchemists doing? And was there a good side to alchemy? We have Hermeticism. I want to get to Manly P. Hall. We're going to get to him in just a minute in the next segment. But what was running those families and those countries and those monarchies and those governments? Was there a good and a bad side to what was going on?
Well, yeah, as the Piscean age and the authoritative societies grew and more powerful, the secret societies began to have their own war. Because remember, there was a war at the turning of the last ages, 2,160 years ago, when Aries turned to Pisces. There was a war between the Pisceans and the Arians. Not Aryans like white Aryan, but people of Aries.
Right.
And so that's when the alchemists began losing, is during that war. It took a couple hundred years to fight. And they were driven underground, but they were driven underground into secret societies that still maintained a presence in the world. And they were top-down driven too. So they were kind of very Piscean in their own way also. But they did preserve a lot of knowledge. And they did have the secret of alchemy. But around 1600, around the time the Cross of Henday was made, there was a war between the dark and light forces in these secret societies. And the light forces realized that the dark forces would do anything, essentially. They were psychopaths. And they said, that's it, we're out of here. And they scooted off into secret places, you know, in South America and Argentina and Peru and maybe in Africa, but also in the mountains in Europe, in the Pyrenees and on the border with France and Spain. They hid out in different places. And the other group actually became, the dark group actually became what we now call the Illuminati. And they now rule us through their occult magic. And the other guys are sequestered away in their hideouts, but they're still in a battle with the dark forces, but they use psychic powers and synchronicity to execute their struggle. And they know they had to wait out the age of Pisces. So now that the age of Aquarius is here, they're going to start their insurrection, spiritual insurrection, you might call it.
Is this almost a form of, and there's so many definitions of it, of entropy, you know, and of a cycle?
Yeah, as the cycle comes to its last quarter, its last 600-700 years, it begins falling into an entropic cycle. So the age will end. That's why we know there's going to be an economic collapse and all the other things that people are talking about. The age will end in a complete entropic moment. That doesn't mean it's the end. It just means it's the end of that age. It will regroup and reform, and the Reformation is pretty much what I'm describing. All you have to really do is think about the last 2,000 years and the top-down authoritative approach, and you know that the next age is going to be the opposite. It's going to be
bottom up,
a little more chaotic,
right?
A little more anarchic, a little more freedom is going to be big, and but we're also we are going to be starting to grow our own food. We're going to have to, because the price of food is just going to go through the ceiling, especially with the inflation that's coming. So and the food will be better. We're growing it. It's our food. We know what's in it. And you know, so we're actually going to have a vast improvement in our way of life. But it's going to take a couple hundred years for the Pisceans to scram the scene. You know, they're still going to want to do it. They're still there, and they're both Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals. There's no way around it. They're both authoritarians. And that's not what we are. They're all part of the Piscean system that began with Rome and is ending probably with the crash of the United States, which is the new Rome. And it's a good thing. I'm not trying to scare anybody, because I'm actually very optimistic about it. And I want everyone to prepare for it. It's not going to happen suddenly. It isn't. It's going to take years and years for this to unfold. But it is going to unfold, and you are going to see these structures fall apart, and you want to be there for your friends and family to make sure we all get through it all, you know, okay.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jay Weidner. Talking about those secret mystery schools, who is really running the world, your world, all of that and much more. When we come back, I'm going to jump into some Manly P. Hall. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fade or Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fade or Nots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Jay Widener. More with Jay in just a second, but now I've got to tell you about Virtual Shield and Virtual Shield VPN. I say it every night on the show. Your privacy, your search history, what you do on the internet, that's your business and nobody else's. I run a lot of computers, as everybody knows, in this studio. I have a couple of studios. They all run Virtual Shield VPN. And I need to keep my location private. My search history, that's nobody's business. This is the world that we live in today. And everybody needs to have their own VPN. And the best out there is Virtual Shield. It's all easy to do, okay? Just click on the link in the video description box below. It'll take you straight to Virtual Shield. You can type it in virtualshield.com/fade to black. You can do that. You can go over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the banners that are over there. It'll all take you to Virtual Shield, and you will get Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. Do it. Keep your location private, your search history. No more annoying ads that are obviously tracking everything that you do. Get Virtual Shield VPN today. Our guest tonight is Jay Widener. And Jay, one of the things I think anybody that jumps into Hermeticism, alchemy, and the mystery schools, and you're doing the search, all roads will eventually take you to Manly P. Hall. And I remember the first time that I brought up Manly to you, and I was completely surprised about your connection. And there's another thing here in the San Fernando Valley. There's the library. Everything is right here over in Griffith Park in that area, and his connection to Southern California is all here, all the way to modern times. You know, we think of Manly P. Hall. You look at his picture and you think that, you know, he lived 300 years ago. Well, he might have, actually. Now that I think about it. But Manly P. Hall, tell us about your connection to Manly.
Well, Manly actually died going to. I remember I was telling you I lived up in the mountains above Santa Barbara. I lived at a place called Zaca Lake, and in Manly's big book, Secret Teachings, there's one of his emblems is the 72 names of God, and he has them listed out. And the 48th name of God is Zaca, Z-A-C-A, just like Zaca Lake. And I was a big fan of Manly, and, you know, saw that when I was living at Zaca. And so I went to the rich guy who owned Zaca Lake, and I said, hey, have you ever seen, you know, the 72 names of God and the 48th name of Zaca? He goes, no. He's looking, I goes, that must have been why Manly P. Hall wanted to come here. And Manly P. Hall actually died going to Zaca Lake, trying to go to Zaca Lake, probably because he recognized that it must be an important place, because it's not just the 72 names of God, it's the 72 places of God. That's what you have to understand. There's 72 different places on the dodecahedron of the earth, which are all divinely inspired, and this place was that. And then, you know, before that, I had actually lived with Manly Hall's wife, Maria, for a few months in right there near Los Feliz in the 80s, and we went through all of her drawings, and I sat and heard all of the stories about Manly, and that he thought he was Madame Blavatsky reincarnated, and it was just, you know, and of course his book is the greatest, you know, esoteric book for the everyman. In other words, a regular Joe can read that book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages I'm talking about, and understand pretty much what they're reading, whereas the average Joe would have a real hard time with Fulcanelli. So that's why I'm so grateful to Manly Hall for all the great things he did. And, you know, he hung out with a lot of big stars, and Jack Parsons, and I mean, this guy had a life. Let me tell you, it was very elevated soul, and so was his wife Maria, very elevated soul, and he was the game changer to me of the 20th century for the English speaking world, because he brought all of the mysteries together in that one book. And, you know, it's very likely he was murdered, by the way.
Let's go there for a second. How did he die?
Well, it's strange, because he was on, I forget the name of the highway now, on the way to the mountains above Santa Barbara, and the police were called, and they came to the scene, and he was about 150 yards away from where the car was, out in a field near some trees. He was an older guy, and it was like not an easy walk to get where he was. Right? They said, oh, he had a heart attack. He was out there walking and he had a heart attack. And maybe he did. You know, we don't know. I can't really prove anything. If, you know, I don't want to get sued or anything. I already know about that. So, but the two guys he was with, immediately after they reported it, and the Santa Barbara coroner came and got the body, immediately went back to Los Feliz in Los Angeles and started stealing everything that Manly had. All the books, all the rugs, he went everywhere, all over the world. You got to remember, at the end of World War II, you know, an American with money could go to Europe and pick up incredible stuff at a song and dance. right? All sorts of things, incredible books and art and paintings and sculptures, and because Europe was broke. So Manley was doing that. He was going over to Europe and buying all this stuff, and he had this incredible museum warehouse of the most incredible esoteric stuff probably ever collected. And it's all gone now because these guys pretty much sold it on the black market to everybody. And now the collection is not gone, but 40% is gone. The 60% that remains is still great, but they, of course, took the best of it and sold it all off. And, they got away with it, and they're all dead now. And, it's a sad story, but he was a great man, and his lectures are all available on the internet for free. Jordan Maxwell I think he operates a site where all those lectures are available. And so, his stuff is incredible. If you want to hear a real American spiritual pioneer, Manly Hall is the guy.
I go and listen to his lectures all the time, and I'm just so thankful. I remember when you and I were actually talking about this, in that how fortunate we are that somebody recorded all of that stuff. I mean, long, deep, in-depth conferences where he would just go from the beginning to the end without taking a breath. I don't know how his mind worked for him to put this information together. Long, comprehensive, deep knowledge, and there is so much of it out there. Manly P. Hall, we're not talking about 1700, 1600. This is somebody that is from the modern era, and we were able to preserve this stuff, and it's all out there.
Yeah, again, it's kind of weird that he was from New York, but he picked Los Angeles as his place to do this. And again, Krishnamurti, the great spiritual person, went to Southern California, and Alan Watts went to Northern California, and there's this time period from 1925 to 1980 or so when California it just was this cutting edge, incredible place where you could travel up and down the coast and hear the most incredible teachers. This is before the internet. So we were all craving information. And of course, I was living there and definitely taking advantage of the Ojai Institute and all of those places that were bringing all the great people in, like Terence McKenna and all the others. And what's the place in Big Sur? That's a really cool place. So, it was this epicenter of a spiritual wave which went west to east across the country. And Manly was the first guy. Honestly, he was the first guy to actually bring out this knowledge in a meaningful way.
Now, and I want to go back. Speaking of the knowledge spreading out, you ended up, I want to know how you financed it, but you did a lot of traveling, and you're trying to put the pieces of these puzzles together. You had some information, and you were chasing this, and you ended up trying to figure it out. When you started to choose a country, where did you go first?
The very first country I went was France. I went to Hendaye, and I went to all the cathedrals and a lot of other special places. And then I went to Peru to follow up on the Peru part of the Cross of Hendaye. And while in Peru, I began realizing that Peru was part of this 100,000-year-long culture that was here in the United States and in North and South America. And then that sent me off to pretty much all four corners of the world at this stage. I mean, I've been everywhere, and, I haven't been to Antarctica yet, but I'd like to go. And, following all of this tradition, because in the end, I came to realize whether I was in the Middle East or I was in Egypt or I was in South America or I was in Europe, it was the same tradition. It was always the same tradition. It was all had the same inner elements of it. And that was what Manly Hall put together in Secret Teachings. He went and showed you that the Chinese and the Hopi and all these people all had this same idea that was strangled in the age of Pisces. And 200 years earlier, Manly Hall would have been burned at the stake, right? So as the entropy of the age of Pisces started to set in the 20th century, that confusion allowed him to self-publish a book that would change the spiritual landscape of the entire world. And he couldn't have done it earlier. It would have been outlawed. And so, thank goodness he had rich patrons that helped us this all come along. And that's, by the way, who helped me with my travels. We're just rich patrons that are interested in this stuff and want to finance it, and they didn't give me much money, just enough money to get to places and back. But, I'm still thankful to them for doing it. And, again, there's something about alchemy which attracts the top minds. Tesla was into alchemy.
Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton wrote more about alchemy than any other subject. Da Vinci was into alchemy. Michelangelo was into alchemy. All the great minds, Stanley Kubrick was into alchemy. They are all into alchemy. There's something so attractive to it. It's a combination of nature and science. That's what I think it is. It's a combination of science and shamanism. It's like a form of shamanism that's guided by deep principles, right? I'm doing everything I can to create the great alchemical comeback.
Now, I was you just brought up Kubrick, and I'm pulling up here your incorrect top 10 of Stanley Kubrick films. I told you I was going to do this. and I'm pulling it up, and now, did you pull it down? No,
it's up. It's up there. It's just way down there. I post a lot.
Yeah, you post way too much. How?
I do.
I'm okay. I'm going to get to it. Okay, so my comments, I was pretty surprised about your number one. And
a lot of people are.
Yeah, and your number two. Okay, so let's go down to your top 10 list. What was your number one?
Dr. Strangelove.
Great film.
Yep.
But why would you choose that as number one?
Well, I watched it recently, and the dang thing is just funnier than hell. And I haven't laughed, my wife and I haven't laughed so hard in a long time. And it's just, I realized that, Mel Brooks said it's the funniest movie ever made. And I realized, I actually tried to make a comedy one time, and I realized how really difficult it is to be funny on film. And it stuck that this truly was the darkest satire, the funniest movie ever made.
I can't believe I haven't. How much do you post, man? I watched Dr. Strangelove and
it's on July 26th because I posted on Stanley Kubrick's birthday.
Okay, I just passed up July 26th, so I don't know how I.
Happy birthday, Stanley!
Yeah, happy birthday. No doubt about it. Okay, let me back up. I watch Dr. Strangelove about once a month. Okay, I own the film. I pull it up and I watch it constantly. And every time that I watch it, I come to realize the divine perfection of the film. Funny, 100%. But it's the editing, it's the framing, it's the set design. The casting is absolutely dead spot. Is perfect.
Oh my God!
And
one of the best cast films of all time.
There's no question about it. But it is not better than 2001.
Well, it edges it out. But they're both. Let me clear one thing up. All of those films, except for the bottom two, are amazing. Okay? So the division between them is minuscule. Got me?
Yeah, I could, but you're still wrong. And let me tell you why you're wrong. First off, 2001 is the greatest film ever made. So if you're gonna make a top 10 list of Stanley Kubrick, well, by default, 2001 is at the top. But you've got Paths of Glory here at number 3.
Yep.
Jay. I just got to hear your reasoning behind this.
Paths of Glory is one of the greatest films ever made.
No, I need to know why. You can say that all day long. Why? I mean, how?
Because it reveals the corruption of that ruling power elite that I've been talking about, the Piscean. It reveals how they will do anything. They will kill innocent people, anything to maintain their authority. And in 1956, that was the ding. That guy had to have basketball-sized huevos to make that film. It got banned in England.
Yes,
it got
it
banned
did.
in France. Winston Churchill said it was the greatest anti-war film ever made. Orson Welles, after he saw it, he got interviewed. He was walking out of the theater and said, "What did you think?" He said, "I don't know who that guy is, but you better watch him. He's got talent."
Okay, but the problem with that is you've got A Clockwork Orange at number 10.
Yes, I do.
And Jay, okay, so if I was and Eyes Open, and this is the thing, Eyes Wide Shut, as bad of a film as it is on Kubrick standards, right? Bad editing, bad music.
Thank you for saying
that. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's still an amazing film with an amazing script and an amazing storyline that revealed all of the darkness that is around us.
The reason that it popped out at number 11 was because we never saw Kubrick's version.
Right.
We saw the Warner Brothers version, so that's where it lost all of its steam. And until I get to see his version, I have to judge it low, because Warner Brothers, you got lousy editors working for you. That's all I gotta say.
It's so funny because you watch the film and you can see the scenes that are shot, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's absolutely incredible. With every edit before and after each scene is wrong, right?
Yep.
For the entire movie,
disjointed,
yes,
crazy film, and I want to love it because the plot line, and I even like Tom Cruise in it, and the photography and the music, and again, it's a Kubrick film, so it's in the top 20 films of all time, but I was rating it with Kubrick, and the reason that Clockwork Orange fell to 10 was because of I watched it recently, and it's just it's a good film, but man, that opening 40 minutes is that's a rough go, man.
No, man, it's so good.
It is a rough
excellent.
One,
no.
The music, and it's so brilliant. I mean, the Rossini and the music and the dance and the choreography of the fight scenes.
Yeah, doopy. Yeah.
When I'm watching it, I'm like, Stanley, you are using all of your ability to make me like this psychopath, and I kind of irritate by that.
Really? Okay. All right, so let's go to Spartacus at number 5. Questionable, because he only directed half of that film, number 1. But The Killing at number 6, I can see that kind of mid-pack. But you've got all of this ahead of The Shining. You've got it ahead of A Clockwork Orange. You've got it ahead of Barry Lyndon, which Barry Lyndon is one of the most underrated films of all time. the cinematography, the lighting, the candles, the effects,
everything.
Right?
Amazing movie.
How could you have that at number 8 behind
Because
The Shining?
The Killing is Stanley Kubrick's most underrated movie.
It's a great film. It's a great film. But
he was 24 years old when he made that.
Yes, but your list is upside down, Jay. Except for Dr. Strangelove in 2001, which is incorrect from the word go. But to have a Full Metal Jacket behind Paths of Glory doesn't make any sense to me. And then you fall off, and to have The Shining at number 7, I just don't get it. And The Shining is probably the greatest horror film ever made, number 1. And number 2, it's probably Stanley's third best film.
Yeah. It's a Shelley Duvall's performance is off, and I don't know why Catman Scruthers goes back to there without knowing that Jack Nicholson is waiting if he's psychic, and also the squeezed in with the Apollo stuff, which is cool and everything.
You're going to get struck by lightning. I can see why you're moving around. You're avoiding the lightning bolt.
No, I purposely made the list controversial, I have to admit. I'm promoting some of his lesser-known films and equating them with either being as good as or better than some of his great films. And I totally and completely acknowledge that Barry Lyndon, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, and Clockwork Orange, and Eyes Wide Shut are incredibly amazing films that no other filmmaker could ever make. And they're brave and they're Stanley Kubrick, but I had to promote some of these other ones which are going to fall by the wayside already. They have not, the Academy of Films has not, I don't think that they've printed Paths of Glory. They've printed 2001 Dr. Strangelove, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, and The Shining, but they haven't done Paths of Glory and they haven't done The Killing.
And they haven't. I don't think they've done Lolita as well.
Yeah, but these films are going to fall into obscurity if we don't, have Hollywood realize how important they are.
Now, do you find? I've only got 30 seconds, so I just want a quick answer on this. Lolita is probably one of the most difficult films to get through because the subject matter,
really
and what's unfolding here. Does it make you squirm like it makes me squirm? Do you find it difficult to watch?
Yep. Very difficult film to watch. And pretty much Kubrick added in this whole secret pedophile scenes with Peter Sellers and his mysterious lady friend. And, wasn't in the book. So you have to wonder, what is Stanley Kubrick trying to tell us? If he suddenly adds all this stuff into the screenplay that wasn't in the book. And I think, he was trying to say something. And, I'll finish with this last one. In the opening scene of Eyes Wide Shut, there's two guys sitting at a table while Nicole Kidman and her Hungarian guy are dancing, all right?
Right.
And they're just sitting there. They're kind of obvious in the scene, but they don't talk or anything. They're just talking to each other in the background. At the very end of the movie, when the little girl, Nicole and Cruz's little girl, is going through the Macy's, there's all these animals looking menacingly around her. At the very end of the aisle are those two guys. I'll leave you with that.
Man, I remember. I've got to get to this break, but this is like 25 years ago. I'm home alone, whatever, DirecTV, scrolling, and there's Lolita. And I went, you know what? I don't think I've ever watched it, right? So I click on, I watch the entire movie, and I get to the end, and I just felt dirty. I felt wrong, and I was like, man, what did I just watch? And I can't take this back now. That's the way that I felt.
Yeah, I felt the same way, by the way.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. Let's take our break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I guess tonight, the one and only Jay Weidner. I had to go through his top 10 list. Now, when I come back, I'm going to actually read his top 10 list of Stanley Kubrick films, top to bottom. You got to hear this. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRARadio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard, available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest, Jay Weidner. And Jay last week, or no, I'm sorry, in the 20s, who was on the 26th, 3 days ago, he posted Stanley Kubrick's top 13. It was supposed to be top 10, I think. He ended up at 13. And I was the first person to respond to this, and I said, Jay, I'll straighten you out with the correct order on Wednesday night. And so I put together my top 10. I'm going to, and this is what is important for me with this. Jay's knowledge of Stanley Kubrick is probably as deep and accurate as anybody out there on this planet. He has analyzed Stanley top to bottom. We did a show on Coast to Coast about Stanley Kubrick, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Right?
Yep.
Or was that on Fade to Black? Or was that on Coast?
No, it was on Coast.
It was on Coast. And
Yep.
Stanley Kubrick, hands down, my favorite director of all time. I own most of his films, and I watch them constantly. I study them. I have talked to so many directors and filmmakers and directors of photography, and when the subject of Stanley Kubrick comes up, or the greatest film of all time, they tell me about film school, the LA Film Academy, and what is taught at UCLA, and 2001 is right there, and it is picked apart, and it is something that they study for semesters at film school, and for good reason. Now, that being said, this is Jay's Stanley Kubrick top 10. Number 1, Dr. Strangelove. Number 2, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Number 3, Paths of Glory. Number 4, A Full Metal Jacket. Number 5, Spartacus. Number 6, The Killing. Number 7, The Shining. Number 8, Barry Lyndon. Number 9, Lolita. Number 10, A Clockwork Orange. And that's very, I just got angry, right? I just got angry. And so my response was, here we go. I'm going to straighten you out on Wednesday night. By the way, I got a lot of likes on my comment, Jay. I was not alone.
I saw that.
Yeah. So here's my Stanley Kubrick top 10. Number 1, 2001. Number 2, Dr. Strangelove. Number 3, The Shining. Number 4, A Full Metal Jacket. Number 5, Eyes Wide Shut. Number 6, A Clockwork Orange. Number 7, Barry Lyndon. Number 8, The Killing. Number 9, Paths of Glory. And number 10, Spartacus. And I only give Spartacus the number 10 because I had alternatives there. It's because he saved the day on a film that needed to be saved, and he did the best that he could do. It's an excellent film by any standard, but it's what his contribution to Spartacus, that just cannot be measured. But that's my top 10.
He took holy hell, too, by the way.
Yes, he did.
In that film. He was 27 years old, and he was working with all these guys that were 50, and they weren't going to take any crap from this punk,
Kirk Douglas.
And, he put up with it. Amazing abuse to get that film made, and he did save it. By the way,
yes, he did. He did save it, and that's why it comes in at my number 10. I don't think anybody else could have done what he did. Number 1. But the other part of it is the editing and the way that the film ended up coming together under tremendous pressure. It turned out to be an excellent film. Imagine if he would have shot it and been there, from beginning to end.
It would have been probably one of the greatest spectacular films of all time. He's the guy that directed the famous scene where the slaves are running up the gate and then it all falls over. He designed that whole scene, and he shot it with the camera on the other side of the gate, watching the slaves crawl up the gate and panning upwards, and the cameraman's going, "This isn't how you do it. What are you doing, you punk?" It ends up being like the best stuff in the whole movie, right? And that was all Kubrick. Every time you see something good in Spartacus, action-wise, that's Stanley directing, and really at the top of his form. Unfortunately, he ended up hating Los Angeles, and so he moved to England after that. But or maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But, I totally agree with your list. In fact, on any day of the week, I'll rearrange the list. But that was his birthday, and I wanted to give some of his lesser-known masterpieces a little more light in the area, because a lot of people don't even know about The Killing or Paths of Glory. And
Barry Lyndon,
black and white.
No,
so
Barry Lyndon. You know what's really funny to me, and for those that have not seen Barry Lyndon, you may not have even heard of the movie, and I get that. Because all of his other works are referenced so much, and I understand that. But for me to have Barry Lyndon at number 7, it's testimony of his other great films, of course.
Exactly.
But Barry Lyndon, you watch that film, and you will come away with thinking that you may have seen the best thing that was ever made. Why do you think that Barry Lyndon isn't spoken about like the Full Metal Jacket, or Dr. Strangelove?
Well, it's really slow, and it's got a Victorian story that takes place really slowly, but it's really a good film. He pretty much shot that film,
Yes, he
did. That was him. I mean, John Alcott got cinematographer, won an Academy Award and everything for it. But I know people on the set. I know the guy that plays the Lord, the young kid that finally betrays Ryan O'Neal. Mm-hmm. And he told me that Kubrick was like behind the camera, behind pushing the lights around. He was literally pushing the lights around himself to light the scene. So that was all Stanley that did almost everything. And not to say John Alcott didn't add a lot to the movie. I'm just saying that, it was what happened is that Kubrick had made 2001. It cost $10 million, and he didn't think it was going to even make any money, to be honest with you. And he was really surprised that the hippie generation took it up and made it into a huge hit, because it was failing for the first 2 or 3 months when it was released in the United States. But then they changed the advertising scheme and called it The Ultimate Trip. And everybody was taking acid, so everybody took acid and watched it, and it was a great movie to take acid to. So that made it a hit, but he didn't want to get the reputation of being a big, huge, expensive filmmaker. So he made A Clockwork Orange to prove that he could make a fantastic low-budget movie. So he made that, I think, on $2 million, $2.5 million bucks.
Right.
He made Clockwork Orange, no big stars, a great movie, no doubt about it. It's absolutely fantastic. Everything about it is great. But, that violent opening scene, which flipped out the world in 1971, because we really hadn't seen things like that. Brian De Palma and all those other Martin Scorsese, they hadn't come along yet. So Kubrick was still one more time ahead of his time with showing the realities of violence in the 1970s, because that's really what the 1970s movies were us experiencing not the bland reality of violence, but the actual realities of violence. But films were really criticized for that, with all the violence. But Barry Lyndon was to make up for Clockwork Orange. For the violence in Clockwork Orange, he decided he was going to make the ultimate period piece, which he did, and costume drama, and make up for the kind of the crazy filmmaking that he did in Clockwork Orange. So we can see that, 2001 was the first film. To me, 2001 is the first film in Kubrick's work where a new Kubrick is emerging. The old Kubrick kind of dies in Dr. Strangelove, and a new Kubrick emerges. And this new Kubrick is this dynamic, confident filmmaker. And he begins, and he's guiding his career through 2001, then A Clockwork Orange, and then Barry Lyndon, and then of course he wrote out his career with The Shining and Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut, and he was also going to make AI as his last film. But those three films are all a reaction. Clockwork Orange is a reaction by Kubrick to 2001, not wanting to be branded as a big, expensive filmmaker. And then Barry Lyndon is a reaction to Clockwork Orange that, no, I'm not a guy who makes violent movies. And, you know, I also make nice movies that anyone can watch, right? But buried inside Barry Lyndon is, you know, the story of the elites, the refusal to let people rise up into the ranks, their ultimate destruction,
and there's
the
one other
rather
thing,
horrific world of that time.
There's one thing about Barry Lyndon that gets passed over. So I'm just going to say this right now. His meticulous way of costume in all of his films, set dressing, framing, and accuracy, his perfection, and the editing is all there. But that's not the best part of the movie. The best part of the movie is Stanley understood lens, he understood light, and he understood film and chemical reactions. And so he chose in that film to shoot with candlelight. He chose in the film to capture what it would be like if you were living then. And it comes across from beginning to end of the film is this lighting that was accurate. No other director, no other lighting guy or DP or the head of a film studio would allow that to happen. But he chose to light and film this accurately. And it is one of the most pleasing things to see from beginning to end because you are there, Jay. And nobody mentions this.
No, and in fact, that the lenses that he shot the candlelight scenes were given to him by NASA. They're each $2 million lenses, and they gave it to him, which is kind of amazing in light of the other research that I've done. But yes, and what Kubrick did was he went to like the Hudson Valley painters, the different schools, and he studied their work for Barry Lyndon, and he saw how they made their light flow and the way it flickered off the trees and the leaves and the posts and the ceiling and you know, and it would take photographs. He had a Polaroid, and he'd take photographs of these paintings, and then he would cover this wall with them, right? And then he would like, yes, combine this with that and that and that. And that's how he built that film. And, you know, wow, man.
Yeah,
what
I know.
A genius.
What a genius. And so when you watch Barry Lyndon, and Ryan O'Neal, spot on, by the way.
Absolutely.
Spot on. Maybe his best film. And, but anyway.
All the acting.
Yeah, all the acting. And when you go now, listening to me, go and watch Barry Lyndon, knowing, you know, just what to look, enjoy the film. But appreciate what Kubrick attempted to do and pulled it off, because in today's world in digital photography, you have instant playback and you can do this, and you don't have the ability to play with light like you could with film.
No,
Stanley knew this, and he knew that in the end that this was going to be captured this way on film, and it is incredible to look at.
Well, film has 10 stops. You know, stops on a camera. It has a 10-stop latitude. That's incredible. Digital has a 3-stop latitude.
That's right. That's right.
Kubrick would have hated digital because he couldn't get that latitude of light that he got in all of his films. But I mean, if you watch, the key to really good cinematography is to have one part of your frame that's absolutely white and another part of that same exact frame that's 100% black. All right. And then fill the frame with all the points in between. Right. And that is the genius of Stanley Kubrick cinematography. It's in every shot. He always does it. And it makes the eye have to work. But the eye likes to work. The human eye likes to work. It likes to take in information. And when things are more flat, like in the digital world, it makes everything less interesting. But when you look at a film, any of Kubrick's films, the latitude of light and dark is so over the top well done that it makes every shot like, whoa, whoa. And, and that's why I love Stanley Kubrick. I like him first and foremost because he's a visual director. He's telling a story through visuals. He'll try to use as less dialogue as he possibly can. And then I like his casting, and I like his stories. I like what he chooses to tell us. I find to be extremely pleasing because it works on so many different levels, like The Shining. The Shining has, like Room 237, it has like 7 to 8, maybe 12 layers of story going on that literally would take years for you to delve through, and Rodney Asher did a great job in Room 237 of collecting all those stories. And I actually agree with all their interpretations. I'm not at odds with any of them. I think, every one of those interpretations of The Shining is probably right. Kubrick locked all of those in, and what a genius. I mean, we actually are fortunate enough to have had a true genius behind the camera in Hollywood's history.
Now, it's so great to watch 237 and then just go straight into The Shining. Just watch them back to back. It's great to do.
Have you ever watched that Shining where the guy, it's split screen and he starts it at the end on the right side and from the beginning on the left side, and you watch it going backwards and going forward at the same time, and they exactly mirror each other?
Yes.
Like, they're walking through the maze, Danny and Shelley Duvall, and that matches with Jack chasing Danny through the maze later. And it's like, what did he do? What the hell did this guy do? Did he like sit around figuring all this stuff out? And I think he did. Actually.
Yeah. And it was shot on film. And that's the other thing. You don't have the ability to do a digital replay and line stuff up like that and hit it off. No, it was shot in his head. He knew what he was doing, and it lined up later. But I'm wondering if we should do overtime tonight. I'm having too good of a time talking. But let's get to Full Metal Jacket for a second. In everything that we just mentioned here, it all played out in spades in a Full Metal Jacket. It's the editing, it's the story, but probably as cinematic as anything that Stanley had shot. All of the good stuff is in a Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, Full Metal Jacket is one hell of a film that gets better with every viewing.
Yes.
And it's really an audacious movie because it's really two movies in one. There's the scene, the first 45 minutes at the drill instructor and boot camp, and then there's this kind of strange meandering movie, but it isn't meandering. And you can take the cinematography and the great acting and all of that, but underlying underneath it all in Full Metal Jacket, and the name actually signifies this, and is this kind of Jungian alchemical concept of opposites. And how we can't understand the world in a singularity. We can only understand it as a duality. And so all during the boot camp scenes of Full Metal Jacket, they're constantly berating women, right? Mary Jane Rotten, right? Mm-hmm. And this is my penis, this is my gun, one's for killing, one's for fun, right? All this stuff about sexuality and degrading women. And then the only women in the movie until near the end is the female prostitute in Vietnam who doesn't want to have sex with some of the guys because, they're too loaded and wants to have sex with other guys. And, kind of a degrading view of women, right? And so the movie seems to be this kind of strange celebration of fake masculinity and degradation of women. But then at the end of the movie, we find out the only person in the entire movie who actually has bravery, who actually is fighting for their people, is the 15-year-old female assassin who's shooting at the group. And when she's finally confronted and caught, she's the only one brave enough to say, kill me, right? And he doesn't have the guts. The brave Marine who's been trained to kill, right, with Born to Kill on his helmet, right, he doesn't have the guts to kill her because he knows that she's actually braver than him. And Kubrick finishes off the film with the coup de grace of the Marines walking through blazing fires and bombed out areas, singing, "Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? MICKEYMOUSE." In other words, they're not men, they're mice. That's what Kubrick is saying. The Marines are not actually creating real men. They're brain-controlling, mind-controlling men into a false masculinity. And the whole middle section with Animal Mother and the cruelty to the Vietnamese and all that, that's the result of the fake masculinity that is being taught in the boot camp, right? And the girl as the hero of the movie is just that beautiful Stanley Kubrick counterforce where he just twists you all over the place. And there she is, fierce, brave, ready to die.
Accurate, disciplined.
Yep. Good shot.
Yeah, great shot.
Yeah.
One of the most intense scenes probably in the history of cinema is all of that, and beautifully shot. And what I mean by that, here we have everybody getting picked off, right, one by one. Yeah. But it was the realism that Stanley did with the camera at ground level. And you're seeing exactly how it's a terrifying, you're defenseless. You can't see the enemy. The enemy happens to be a woman, a 15-year-old woman, and taking everybody out. And he's shooting it the way
down low, down like near the ground level the whole time. Like it's like you're ready to die at any second, and you don't know who's shooting. It isn't until the very end of the movie you find out who's shooting you, and it's just a great movie. I'm sorry, it's just like
it's so
Kubrick
good.
Came out of the blue after 13 years?
Yes,
in quiet. After no, only 6 years of quiet after The Shining, and we were all wondering what he was going to do. Even the soundtrack, by the way, is great in that movie.
Let's you want to hang on? Let's keep going. What have you got to do tomorrow, Jay?
I've got a lot to do tomorrow. I do.
Are you bad?
I do. I have to clean up my whole ranch.
Jay, what a great show tonight. And I can't wait to do it again. Let's do it again soon. And thank you for everything. And as always,
thank you, Jimmy.
As always, I will speak to you tomorrow.
You bet, man.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Love you, dude. Bye.
Love you back. Jay Weidner. And we were so looking forward to the show tonight. Great show. I had to spend the time to pick apart his Kubrick top 10. He's so knowledgeable with that, but I'm sticking by mine. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a great show tonight. Thank you, Jay Weidner. I'll come back. You know the drill. Open lines are next. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Sorry for the delay. I was adjusting things here in the studio. This is Fade to Black. I want to thank Jay Widener for coming in. I've opened up the phone lines. I've got calls on hold right now. 747-228-2051. And I really enjoyed that last segment, talking about Stanley Kubrick and his best films. And there's so many great directors out there. There's no question about it. But for me, it's Stanley Kubrick, and he sets the standard so high. And we can go back, and like I said, if you go to film school, it's 2001: A Space Odyssey. You're going to start right there, and to know what a great film can be. But we've really lost sight of. Because the film is so great and Stanley was so amazing at what he did. Not only, with the script and the casting and things, but it was how he took everything else to the next level in his perfection, all the way through to the editing process and stuff. But we have lost sight of today when you go and look at science fiction today, and so much CG is applied there, and some of it is so great. I mean, I really enjoy everything that Marvel puts out. I watch, man, I'm just amazed by it, and I appreciate it, and I'm able to go through with a good script and a good story and good characters, and it's character driven, and go through all of that, and deal with the CG today. I'm okay with it. I really am. But we have lost sight of what is Stanley Kubrick, because 2001 was shot in 1968, and it was shot with film, and that's it. And you are looking at this excellence without CG. And that is the standard of filmmaking today. And all the computers you want to use and all of the animation you want to use, that's great. And you're learning from 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've lost sight of that. That film is perfect. Perfect. And there's another thing about 2001 people don't mention. There is, I think it's 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes before there's dialogue. Think about that. Yeah, it's 20 minutes. It's insane. Such a perfect film. Such a perfect film. Okay, with that, let me let's pull in some calls. Let's go here. Oh, I've lost 1, 2. So I'm going to go here then next. And there you go. All right. Hi, you're live on There's dialogue. Okay, hold on a minute here. Think about that.
Wait, are you there, Jimmy?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. And I didn't realize. See, the thing is, and I think that's why all the other callers hung up, because they were listening to a delay in that. That was my mistake. And I know
you don't make mistakes. Come on.
Well, see, this is the thing. I know I can see with my software here first-time callers. And so a couple of first-time callers came in, and it was cool. I was excited about that. And they were listening to a tape delay of everything, and it's really loud, and it gets confusing. So, and they end up bailing. But, okay, Deb, how you doing?
Super good. How are you doing, Jimmy?
It's a beautiful night, man. Just had Jay Weidner on for 2 hours.
That was, you know what, I enjoyed it so much. I love it when you guys, not only does he dig deep into, all the stuff in the world that's happening that no one ever wants to talk about, but the movie thing was really fun. And speaking of movies, okay, I have a confession to make. First of all, I've never seen 2001. What was the other one? There was another real popular one I confessed I'd never seen. Oh, Clockwork Orange, I've never seen.
What?
And last night,
I said, what?
No,
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. I'll make it easy for you. Okay, you haven't seen 2001. Have you seen Dr. Strangelove?
That was the other one I haven't seen.
Have you seen The Shining?
Yeah, of course I've seen The Shining.
Have you seen Eyes Wide Shut?
I love Eyes Wide Shut.
Have you seen Full Metal Jacket?
No.
Have you seen Barry Lyndon?
No. I never even heard of Barry Lyndon.
Have you seen The Killing?
No.
Have you seen Paths of Glory?
No.
Have you seen
your top 10 list?
Have you seen Spartacus?
Yes. With Kirk Douglas, right?
Yes. Okay. All right. So you've seen 3 Stanley Kubrick films.
Well, are there any others that I could have missed?
Yes, there are. But okay. But you've seen 3.
Yeah.
Are you going to be a critic of Stanley Kubrick without seeing any of his best films?
No.
Okay,
No.
good.
No, not at all.
Okay, so what was your comment then? I had to jump ahead before going back.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you jumping ahead and not circling back, sweetie. So, the reason I haven't seen a lot of those films when I make these confessions, and another one I was going to make last night, but I didn't get through, and I'm so glad you got to talk to Rhea, and I hope she calls in tomorrow night because I'd love to hear more from her. Last night, I was going to tell you, I've never read Chariots of the Gods, and I've never seen the movie. And it looks like I'm probably going to get to go to Egypt, so I definitely have to do that. I was asking the chat room over on YouTube, should I do that? And they're like, yes, you have to. You have to read that before you go there. You need to get, educated on some of that stuff. And so I will. But I have a question for you, Jimmy, regarding movies. Have you ever seen The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston?
Of course.
Okay. Do you remember how old you were when you saw it?
Oh, I can tell you how old I was the last time I saw it. I was.
You don't remember?
I was 56. I've watched that film so many times. Okay, so what's your question about it?
Well, my question not so much a question. I remember seeing it when I was like 11, and it was my first ever drive-in movie, and it was years after it had come out, okay? And I remember it being such a long movie, but I was very, very impressed with it, even at 11 years old, just enthralled with it. And it was my first impression of Egypt ever.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're a kid and you see these biblical films, and like Ben-Hur and some of the other films, religious films, you take them to heart as a child and you collate it with what you know about the Bible, and that's where a lot of your foundation, your truths come from. And then you start getting involved in church, and it's like, yeah, this is all true. This is just like the movie.
Yeah,
so I did that for years.
Yeah, I suppose that is true. If I'm thinking about the way that I looked at it, I always looked at the Ten Commandments. Yeah, man, going back to probably when I was 4 or 5 years old when I first saw it, I always treated it like it was science fiction. I didn't look at it as a biblical film. I looked at it for the special effects and the story, and I always thought it was science fiction. I never really looked at it as a religious film or a biblical film. And I mean, I couldn't wait for the scene with the parting of the sea, right? And the waves going up, and I just looked at it as science fiction. And I just watched it again last year. I mean, it's great. And the biblical stories and the Ten Commandments.
Sure.
But even when I watched it last year, I'm going to, you make me want to go back and watch it again. It's science fiction to me.
It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Now, do you know how they... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, have a great night. I was going to get to some other calls, but go ahead.
Oh, I just want to ask you something real quick. Do you have? I know I got a little bit of trivia for you. Do you know how they did that scene, the opening of the sea? Do you know how they did that?
Yep, they made it in a swimming pool in the front of Paramount Pictures.
No, they used Jell-O molds.
Yeah, I know. They did it in. If you go and watch the documentary on that, it's pretty cool. They built a 3-foot swimming pool in the parking lot of Paramount Pictures off of Melrose.
With the Jell-O?
You have to see. You got to get up early if you're going to go movie trivia with Jimmy Church, Deb. You got to. Yeah, but anyway, go and watch the documentary on that. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how they did it.
We could do movie trivia some night when you have time, because I could do movie trivia with you, actually. But that's okay. So, get on to your other callers. Thanks for taking my call. Maybe I'll call again tomorrow night. If I do have something I wanted to share at some point, but we need more time to do it. So have a great night, and fade to black.
Fade to black. Thank you so much, Deb. Have a great night. And, when I study movies. This is what I do. I study movies. And it doesn't really matter what era. It could be something that was just made, 2021. But going back, and if the movie stands on its own, it doesn't matter about the cast. But if it's a good story and it sucks me in, then I will usually watch it a second time. But I will also start to look at the edits and how things are paced and gone through. It's just the way that I am. I'm a very black and white and very pragmatic person, especially when it comes to filmmaking. I study it, and I can tell you some of the great stuff that is out there. And you can talk about Lucas and you talk about Spielberg and Quentin Tarantino and Kubrick. Go and watch their earliest stuff. Go and watch it, and you will see that they had the talent to do it back then. Go back and watch. Jaws is an early film. Go watch American Graffiti. Go back and look at the early, before Star Wars, right? Go back and watch and they knew about pacing. They knew about the hero's journey. They knew how to write. They knew how to tell a story, and they were able to edit and get that done too as well. And I do that. So when you go and you think about something like Dr. Strangelove, and you go back to the early stuff of Stanley, and you see that he had this ability to do it very early on. It wasn't something that came later. No, it was not. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Bear from Kentucky.
This is who from Kentucky?
This is Bear from Kentucky.
Bear from Kentucky. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I called in. I for the life of me cannot remember the name of your guest, but I hadn't heard of him before tonight. I sat and I listened to the whole show. And I don't know, everything they said with me was really resonating about this alchemical tradition that we all are, kind of unaware of now. And then, on top of everything else, he started talking about Stanley Kubrick.
Right.
And it blew my mind because I remember when I was a little, I was like 14 or 15 years old. I'm 32 now. I started watching Stanley Kubrick movies. And I felt like the coolest person in the world for watching these movies that none of my friends had ever heard of. And then I started introducing my friends to, at the time, it was The Shining, Clockwork Orange, and then eventually, Barry Lyndon. When I kind of fell in with the film nerd crowd, that was a big, important film that we all sat around and talked about. It's really nice to hear some of those lesser-known works get talked about still, and to resonate with a guest all night, and then for on top of everything else, to get to hear him talk about one of the best directors of all time. That's just super cool.
Yeah, and you're right about that, Bear. And let me say this: when you are a person that is looking into the strangeness of the world and Hermeticism and alchemy and some of these other subjects, UFOs, conspiracy theory. And if you're a student of that stuff and then you appreciate great filmmaking and you jump into somebody like Stanley Kubrick and you're looking into the art of filmmaking, but the way that he presented it, but also the underlying messages that are in the film, you already have that open mind. And then you start to see 3D into somebody like Stanley Kubrick. And that applies to other directors too as well. But Stanley had it going on. And if you're a student of the arts and this is what you do, and you go back and you analyze Stanley, maybe you've been doing it your whole life anyway, but you start to see how the two fit together. And it's great to do. And you're right about that. Jay Weidner, our guest tonight, has been doing this his whole life. And I want to thank you for not only understanding that, but hearing it from Jay. And then you end up resonating with somebody that you've never been exposed to.
Yeah, that was an excellent experience. And, to watch these films as a 16-year-old and then grow up and reanalyze them as you're growing up, I guess that's one of the things about them, though, is that they hit you viscerally. But then you can, it's like that Room 237 where, you unravel all of these different stories out of one movie. It's an incredible thing. And Jay Weidner, thank you for being an excellent guest.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Bear. And have a great night, and I'll catch you next tomorrow night is Fader night. It's open lines all night long, so we'll see you tomorrow night.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Have a great night. If you haven't seen, I'm going to go back and say this again. It's called Room 237. Watch that film. And it is a breakdown and an analysis of The Shining. But and Jay is featured in the film and some of his takes on The Shining and Kubrick. Go watch Room 237. It is excellent. But that's not what you do. Watch 237 beginning to end, remember things, and there's a lot of deep analysis. But immediately go and watch The Shining. It's really trippy to do. And not only from the beginning of the film with the Volkswagen going up through the mountains in Colorado, from that, it just sets the tone, the music and everything. But to the interview, to the general manager's office at the Overlook, Scatman Crothers, the set of each frame, I'm talking about the movie set of each frame and how it's done, who is in it, the count of actors. Just go. And then when you watch The Shining after that, you start to realize that not only is this stuff probably in the film for this reason, but then you got to step back and think about what Stanley was intentionally doing here. Because on the surface, and I want to go back to what Deb said about the drive-in earlier. On the surface, it's a great horror film. It's a great story. Right? Indigenous people in a haunted hotel that has its own energy and its own presence, and driving Jack Torrance, Jack Nicholson mad. And okay, great. And the ending of the film and the maze and all. Okay, yeah, all right, okay. Right? If you just want to take it right there and appreciate it for that, great, because I did. I even, when the film came out, I saw it. I got the book. So I go back and I read the book. The book is quite different from the movie, but I started early on. I was probably 10. I'm guessing here. I was 10. I don't think I was 11. I know where I was living when all of this went down. But that started to introduce me to studying film. And I went back and I watched The Shining after reading the book, went back and watched the movie, read the book again, and started to pick things apart. Now, we were just talking about A Clockwork Orange and, 1972, 1973. I went to the drive-in, my first drive-in, and I went with a friend of mine and his dad and his mom, Jeff Harris, and his parents, and sat in the back seat of the car, and we went to the Pendleton Pike Drive-In on the east side of Indianapolis, where we watched, and I'm not making this up, The Last House on the Left. The original, which is a B movie at best. I don't know about the cinematography or anything else, but that movie was a slasher film, crazy, and traumatic. And it messed with me, and it terrified me, so much so that I never watched the film again. I've had many opportunities to do it. And then the remake came out, 10 years ago. I wouldn't watch that either. I didn't want to watch it. All because of the way I was affected at that drive-in watching that film. Now, Jeff Harris and his parents, I don't know how it affected Jeff, but what were his parents doing taking two 10-year-old boys in the 6th grade to that film. Holy crap. It scared me. It traumatized me for life. I've never gone back and watched the film. I've had so many opportunities. I can't do it. Can't do it. Didn't want to watch the remake. Oh, it was right there. It's on satellite. It's on cable. It's there for easy. No. That really messed me up for life. Yep. So I wanted to get that in. When Deb said that earlier, I thought about it. So again, I think for anybody out there who thinks that they are a student of film, I respect that. But you have to, in order to complete your cinematic journey, you need to know what you're talking about, and you need to know what others are talking about and referencing. These 10 films here, everybody has to watch, and that is 2001, Dr. Strangelove, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, A Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Killing, Paths of Glory, and Spartacus. This is absolute required viewing. I don't know how many times I've seen A Clockwork Orange. I don't know how many times I've seen A Full Metal Jacket. 2001, I watch at least once a month. Yep. I watched it 2 weeks ago. I watch it once a month. Dr. Strangelove, I saw last month. And yeah, that may not be once a month, but it's every 2 months. I watch it all the time. The Shining, I watch it all the time. It's like once a month. I make sure that I go and watch these films. A Full Metal Jacket, I don't have any idea how many times I've seen it. Barry Lyndon, The Killing, Paths of Glory. You need to watch my top 10 list right here. Go and do it. So there you have a foundation when these conversations come up and somebody wants to talk about, Barry Lyndon and its period piece and the costumes and why it won the Academy Awards that it did. Ryan O'Neal. Oh my! It just go and watch. So once you sit, absorb it. When somebody else is talking about it, you know what to do. That's right. What a great show tonight. Jay Weidner is the very best. Jay did, I think it's on Gaia. I could be wrong, with Jay Dyer, where they're breaking down films. It's a really, really good series. And, man, I've got to get Jay back on the show, Jay Dyer. He's absolutely amazing when it comes to film. And so with that, I'm going to get out of here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, right here, we have Fader Night with open lines all night long. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast only copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Truly the greatest night in all of talk radio in all of the world. But until then, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.